people think that's a contradiction. You have the market economy where the market allocates resources. In socialism, it's all central planning. How do you make both work?
The complete formulation of our economic policy is to give full play to the basic role of market forces in allocating resources under the macroeconomic guidance and regulation of the government. We have one important piece of experience over the past 30 years, that is to ensure that both the visible hand and invisible hand are given full play in regulating the market forces.
其实，如果你读过亚当·斯密的话，
If you are familiar with the classical works of Adam Smith, you will know that there are two famous works of his. One is The Wealth of Nations, the other is the book on the morality and ethics.
情潮论。前者
And The Wealth of Nations deals more with the invisible hand, that is, that are the market
另
forces.
一方面，
And the other book deals with social equity and justice. And in the other book he wrote, he stressed the importance of playing the regulatory role of the
政府
government
的调节
to fairly distribute the wealth among the
公
people.
平地分配到每个人的手中。财富
If in the country most of the wealth is concentrated in the hands of a few, then this country can hardly witness harmony and stability.
不稳。同样的情况，
The same approach also applies to the current U.S. economy. To address the current economic and financial problems in this country, we need to apply not only the visible hand but also the invisible hand.
China's onward rise has taken many forms: economic, cultural, and political. Naturally, it has had an increasingly active foreign policy, so far somewhat narrowly focused on securing China's interests. I spoke to Premier Wen about China's larger world role.
Many people see China as a superpower already, and they wonder, why is it not being more active in political resolution of issues such as the issue of Darfur or the issue of Iran and its nuclear ambitions. There is a hope that China will play a role as a responsible stakeholder, to use Robert Zelek's phrase when he was Deputy Secretary of State, and that China will be more active in managing the political problems in the world, and that so far it has not been active. How would you react to that?
我首先要纠正。
To answer this question, I need to correct some of the elements in your question first. China is not a superpower.
中国有13亿人，
Although China has a population of 1.3 billion, and although in recent years China has registered fairly fast economic and social development since reform and opening up, China still has this problem of unbalanced development between different regions and between China's urban and rural areas. China remains a developing country.
我们还有
We still have 800 million farmers in rural areas,
贫困人口，
and we still have dozens of million people living in poverty.
吃低保的，
To address our own problems, we need to do a great deal. China is not a superpower. That's why we need to focus on our own development and on our efforts to improve people's lives.
But surely the Chinese government could pressure the Sudanese government or the Iranian government or the government in Burma to be less repressive. You have relations with all three of them.
我现在回答你的第二个问题。
That brings me to your second question.
其实，中国在国际社会上
Actually, in the international community, China is a justice upholding country. We never trade our principles.
做交易。就拿你提出的达尔富尔问题来讲，
Take the Darfur issue that you raised just now, for example. China has always advocated that we need to adopt a dual-track approach to seek a solution to the Darfur issue.
中国是最早向达尔富尔
China was among the first countries that sending peacekeepers to Darfur.
也是最早
China was also the first country that gave assistance to Sudan.
我们在不断
And we also keep our efforts to engage the leaders in
使
Sudan
苏丹问题
to try to seek a peaceful solution to the issue as quickly as possible.
Do you think it would be dangerous for the world if Iran got nuclear weapons? And what do you think the world should do to try to stop that possibility?
我们不赞成伊朗拥有核武器。
We are not supportive of a nuclearized Iran. We believe that Iran has the right to develop the utilization of nuclear energy in a peaceful
国
way.
际原子能组织的监督
But such efforts should be subject to the safeguards of the IAEA, and Iran should not develop nuclear
因此，在
weapons.
伊核问题
As far as the Iranian nuclear issue is
我们秉持
concerned,
的
China's stance is clear-cut.
坚定但是，我们希望通过
Nonetheless, we hope that we can use peaceful talks to achieve the purpose rather than resort to the willful use of force or the intimidation of force.
这就同两
It's
个
like
人
treating the relationship between two
一个人非要
individuals.
把另一个人
If
推
one
到
individual
墙
tries to corner the other,
那会
then the
适得
effect
其
will be counterproductive. That will do nothing in helping resolve the problem. Our purpose is to resolve the problem, not to escalate tensions.
那我反过来
And
问
I also have a question for you. Don't you think that the efforts made by China in resolving the Korean nuclear issue and the position we have adopted in this regard have actually helped the situation on the Korean peninsula move for the better day by day? And of course, I know that it still takes time to seek a thorough and complete solution to the Korean nuclear issue, and on that basis to help put in place security and stability in Northeast Asia. But what I would like to stress is that the model that we have adopted and the efforts we have made prove to be right in this direction.
Since you honored me by asking the question, I will say to you, Premier, that China's efforts in North Korea have been appreciated in the United States and around the world. And of course, it makes people wish that China would be active in other areas in just the same productive way that it was in North Korea, because we see that it produces results.
经历
We have gained a lot of experience and learned lessons from years of negotiations concerning the six-party talks. And the progress made in the six-party talks also has a lot to do with the close cooperation among the six parties.